I never thought that after 14 years of marriage to my dear wife, I'd find myself in such a situation. Looking back now, it feels like a bad dream, but strangely, I can laugh about it. After all, it's all behind me and I've moved on. Catherine and I first met at my best friend's wedding. She was one of the bridesmaids, lively, charming, and absolutely stunning. Without a doubt, she was the most captivating bridesmaid there, catching the attention of nearly every man at the event. But guess what? I was the one who didn't give up, and eventually, Catherine chose me. A few months into our relationship, she surprised me with the news that she was pregnant. I was deeply in love with her, so I immediately stepped up to take responsibility. I proposed, and she happily accepted. We got married, and from there, life unfolded as it should. We had a beautiful daughter, smart, gorgeous, and a perfect blend of us both. People often said she was a mini version of me, and honestly, that filled my heart with joy. My daughter's love meant everything to me. Like any family, we had our small disagreements, but every argument seemed to make our reunions even sweeter. I never once thought about being unfaithful. My love for my wife was unwavering, and I didn't need anything else. The idea that Catherine might ever betray me never crossed my mind. It truly felt like we were living in a perfect marriage. 14 years of happiness with no clouds in sight. I've been working the factory for years, juggling both day and night shifts. One evening, I was assigned to the night shift again. At that time, a young intern had joined our team. The guy was sharp. He picked things up quickly, learning all the details of the job in no time. He was responsible, always going above and beyond what was expected. After a walk around the factory grounds, we both headed to the break room to warm up, a little tea to chase away the chill of the cold night air. The room was warm, but not as cozy as being in your own bed. I couldn't help but think, how nice it would be to lie down in a comfortable bed and let my mind wander. "Sullivan, go ahead," the kid said confidently. "I'll handle it. You can say I'm doing just fine. Plus, the plan for today only has one detour left, and that's in the morning." The thought of wrapping things up, pleasing my sweetheart, and being in a warm bed in just half an hour lifted my spirits. The work was done, and for the next few hours, we'd just be sitting by the radio. Unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, I took the kids' advice and headed home. It was early spring, and the night still had a sharp chill. All winter long, I'd been riding my old motorcycle to work. So half an hour later, I was pulling up to my gate. It was closed but not locked, which struck me as odd. When I noticed a light on in the summer kitchen, separate from the main house, my unease grew. I was certain that when I left for work, no lights had been on in the outbuildings. I always made sure to turn everything off and lock the gate myself. When I left for work, I was under the impression that my girls were safe and sound. But with each step closer to home, my anxiety grew. The light in the house was off, which was strange enough, but now the summer kitchen light was on. I grabbed the shovel handle leaning against the porch and made my way to the summer kitchen. I decided to prop the door from the outside and peek through the window to see what was happening inside, all while clutching the handle tightly, just in case. The thoughts racing through my mind were a blur, but nothing could prepare me for what I saw. There, in the summer kitchen, was my beloved Katie with another man. It hit me like a punch to the gut. For a few moments, I just stood there, frozen in shock. How was this happening? How could this be real? The sounds of their betrayal snapped me out of my daze. In a rush of anger, I knocked on the window with the shovel handle. You should have seen their faces, twisted with panic and disbelief. I don't recall every detail of the scene, but I remember how they both scrambled up, frantically grabbing their clothes and trying to rush out the door. Of course, the door was bolted from the outside. They froze, staring at me, and I made a motion across my neck with the shovel handle, signaling that I was done. As I went to open the door, both of them had already jumped out of the second window, completely naked, and were stumbling across the garden in a frenzy. I walked into the house and made my way to my daughter's room. She was fast asleep, snoring softly, and the sight of her made my heart ache. Tears welled up in my eyes as I stood there, watching her. Later, I sat down to talk with her, trying to figure out what to say to explain where her mother had gone. But before I could even start, my daughter cut me off. She said she already knew everything. Apparently, this wasn't the first time her mother's actions had confused her. She began to cry and told me that her mother had warned her not to say anything, to keep quiet about it for months. My wife didn't show up, didn't check on her daughter, as if we didn't matter at all. Then one day, she came back, expecting that I would just forgive her and welcome her home. But neither I nor our daughter could even consider it. We packed up her things, the ones we kept all this time, and wished her well on her way. A year later, I met someone new, a lovely woman who also had a daughter, just a little younger than mine. The three of them hit it off right away, and now I have a new, strong family. Meanwhile, my ex-wife has continued to jump from one man to the next, her love life spiraling into a marathon that's lasted for years. I hear about it through her sister, who's our daughter's godmother. I don't think I'll ever understand how my ex ended up like this, or how she had the heart to walk away from her child. Some things, I guess, are just beyond comprehension.